There's something truly captivating about moments when one person dares to voice a truth that many avoid hearing. This Chinese professor recently did just that, speaking openly about Africa's future in a way that's shaking powerful corridors in Washington. His message wasn't some polite chatter or distant theory. It was an urgent warning, wrapped in hard reality. It's a wake-up call many in the US aren't ready to face, but simply can't ignore anymore. Imagine the scene. A man stands before a room of listeners, speaking about a continent too often overlooked or misunderstood by global powers. Africa, in his words, isn't just a land rich in resources or culture. It's a continent on the brink of rewriting the rules of the global order. His perspective challenges conventional narratives by highlighting Africa's unstoppable rise. Driven by youth, innovation, and strategic partnerships, particularly with China. And this message lands like a thunderclap, especially for American leaders who have long viewed Africa through a narrow lens of charity or competition. What makes his words so striking is their clarity and depth. He doesn't sugarcoat the challenges. Poverty, governance issues, and infrastructure gaps remain. But he emphasizes something far more powerful: opportunity. Africa's vast natural resources, youthful population, growing economies represent a new frontier that can't be dismissed as a sideshow. The professor paints a picture of a continent eager to chart its own destiny. No longer content with being pushed around in global geopolitics, this isn't just a warning tossed into the wind. It's a carefully crafted message aimed at forcing the West, particularly the US, to reconsider its stance. The professor argues that ignoring Africa is not an option, not if America wants to keep its place in a rapidly shifting world. The reality is stark. As Africa strengthens its partnerships, embraces new technologies, and integrates itself into global markets, the balance of power is changing. What Washington sees as competition, many Africans see as long overdue recognition and respect. You can almost feel the weight of this message settling in. It's more than political strategy or economic calculation. It's about acknowledging Africa's role as a key player on the world stage. This professor pulls no punches when he suggests that America's hesitation or slow engagement risks fostering a future where the US finds itself sidelined. His voice carries urgency, a call to listen, to act, to reshape foreign policy with a genuine understanding of Africa's potential. What does this mean for global dynamics? It means that Africa's story is no longer one of passive aid recipient but of active influencer. The professor's words challenge long-held perceptions that have limited Africa's potential in the eyes of many Western policymakers. He pushes for a shift from paternalism toward partnership, from exploitation toward mutual benefit. It's a vision where Africa's development is driven by Africans themselves, supported but not dictated by external powers. This message also shines a light on the growing influence of China in Africa. The professor doesn't frame it as mere competition, but as a wake-up call. China's strategic investments, infrastructure projects, and partnerships have altered the landscape dramatically. It's no coincidence that this Chinese professor delivers the message. He embodies the bridge between two worlds, pointing out that America needs a clearer, more respectful African policy if it hopes to maintain relevance. Emotionally, the speech carries layers of hope, caution, and determination. It speaks to millions of Africans who have long dreamed of a future where their continent reigns as a force of innovation and resilience on the global front. It resonates with those who understand that Africa's challenges can only be overcome through unity, vision, and bold action, values that lie at the heart of this message delivered with passion and conviction. Throughout, there's a persistent reminder drawn from African philosophy. I am because we are, and we are because I am. This idea beautifully encapsulates the interconnectedness that the professor stresses. Africa's rise is not just a regional issue, but one that impacts the entire world. We are all part of one global story. And ignoring Africa's ascent isn't just short-sighted, it's dangerous. For us leaders, this speech represents a crossroads. It demands reflection on questions too long deferred. How can America build genuine partnerships with African nations? How will it adapt to the shifting tides of global power? And most importantly, How can it support Africa's ambitions without repeating old mistakes of dominance and neglect? As the room listens, you can almost sense a shift taking place, an uncomfortable but necessary confrontation with reality. The professor's words linger long after the speech ends, challenging everyone present to step outside their usual frameworks and see Africa anew. It's about respect, opportunity, and recognizing a future that is already unfolding. What makes this moment historic isn't just the message, but the messenger, a Chinese professor, strategically speaking into a space where such truths are often muted. His courage to speak openly, backed by insight and experience, makes his warning impossible to overlook. It's a pivot point where conversations about Africa are no longer peripheral, but central to global discourse. And it's clear that this conversation is only beginning. As the professor's warning reverberates through Washington and beyond, it invites broader discussions, policy shifts, and a reimagining of Africa's place in the world. It's a reminder that the future is not written by old powers alone, but shaped by emerging voices ready to claim their time. This story is about change, the kind that stirs unease in some yet excitement in many others. It's an invitation to listen deeply, engage meaningfully, and embrace a world where Africa's voice commands the attention it deserves. With each word, an urgent plea unfolds. Don't ignore Africa because the world watching won't wait. Africa stands apart as the youngest continent on Earth, a fact that carries both tremendous hope and complex challenges. When we talk about Africa's future, what truly defines it is its vibrant, youthful population, one that is continuously growing and full of promise. Looking at the numbers today, many would be amazed to learn that in countries like the Central African Republic, more than half the population is under 18. In some nations, this youthful energy stretches even wider, giving Africa a pulse that beats stronger and faster than anywhere else. Just imagine millions. Ideas and ambitions that could shape not only their communities, but the entire world. This is the Africa we see emerging from the statistics. It's a continent brimming with potential because it has the gift of youth on its side. The professor's point about Africa's rise is deeply tied to this demographic reality. It's not just about numbers. It's about the vast reservoir of creativity, energy, innovation these young Africans bring with them. Pause for a moment and think about what this means. When a place has a population so young, it has the chance to harness what's known as demographic dividend, where the working-age population expands, creating opportunities for accelerated economic growth and development. But, and here lies the catch, this potential will only become reality if the right investments are made. Education must be prioritized, healthcare made accessible, and opportunities opened with intention and planning. This is why the message the professor delivered strikes such a strong chord. He sees Africa's youth not as a problem, but as the most valuable asset in the world. The energy and spirit of young Africans offer a chance to leapfrog past traditional development hurdles. It is a vision full of optimism, yet grounded in pragmatism. Yet, access to quality education remains uneven. Unemployment, especially underemployment, creates uncertainty and frustration. And health services need significant scaling to meet the needs of growing populations. The professor's caution is a reminder that Africa's demographic boom presents an immense responsibility. Countries must prepare not just for growth, but for meaningful growth that benefits. The world is watching, especially powers like the US, who cannot afford to ignore these trends. The youth of Africa are tomorrow's leaders, innovators, consumers, and creators. Ignoring their rise is ignoring the future. The professor's message is a call to see Africa not as a backyard or a market for exploitation, but as a partner rich with ideas and determination. What makes this population surge even more compelling is how while many Western and Asian countries face shrinking workforces and economic slowdowns, Africa's youthful workforce offers a counterbalance. It represents dynamism, a longer horizon, and untapped markets hungry for attention. There is also an emotional depth to all of this. The vitality of young people lights up cities and villages alike. It's the sound of hope in crowded markets, the spark in the eyes of students in classrooms, the buzz and innovation hubs springing up in unexpected places. This energy shapes cultural movements, driving change in music, fashion, and social activism. Africa's youth are rewriting narratives, telling stories of strength and possibility that uplift entire generations. The professor reminds us that behind the statistics lie real people with dreams just like anyone else. They want opportunities to build careers, start businesses, and contribute meaningfully to their communities. They want a voice in decisions affecting their futures. This human element adds depth to his message. This is not about numbers on a page, but about the aspirations of millions who deserve acknowledgement and action. Community. Cultural ties also play a crucial role. The idea that I am because we are, and we are because I am, echoed in the message, reflects the African philosophy of interconnectedness. Each young person's success contributes to the well-being of families and societies, which in turn nourish individual growth. This collective spirit, combined with youthful ambition, sets a foundation for sustainable progress. Listening to this professor's insights, it's impossible not to feel hopeful about what Africa's youth can achieve. But hope alone isn't enough. It requires commitment from governments, international partners, and private sectors to invest wisely in health, education, infrastructure, and governance. The professor's projections make clear that without this, the promise of the youth bulge could easily turn into a source of instability and frustration. In many ways, this demographic moment is Africa's greatest opportunity and greatest challenge simultaneously. Countries that embrace the potential of their young populations and create ecosystems for innovation, learning, and entrepreneurship will rise as models of growth and resilience. Those that fail risk facing rising unemployment, social unrest, and widening inequalities. The professor's words serve as both inspiration and a cautionary tale. Amidst all the data and projections, what stands out most is the emerging spirit of a continent ready to claim its future. Young Africans everywhere, whether in bustling urban centers or rural villages, are looking onward with expectations and hope. The professor's message encourages the world to acknowledge this truth and to reshape global conversations about Africa's development. This vibrant, youthful Africa holds within it the possibility of becoming one of the world's leading centers of culture, innovation, and economic growth. The continent is poised not just to participate in global trends, but to shape them, powered by its youngest generation's drive and resilience. As you picture this future, remember that this isn't just an African story. It's a human story. It's about promise, potential, and progress, waiting to be unlocked by those bold enough to invest in youth. The professor's insights invite us all to listen closely to Africa's most powerful resource, its young people, and to act in ways that ensure this incredible demographic shift is a triumph for generations to come. China-Africa partnership has grown steadily and now stands as one of the most dynamic, strategic relationships in the world. This growing alliance isn't just about trade figures and diplomatic visits. It represents a reshaping of global influence and forces U.S. leaders to rethink their approach to Africa. For years, the U.S. has struggled with how to engage meaningfully with a continent that many view through limited lenses. But with China extending its reach and investment deeply across Africa, American policymakers find themselves at a critical inflection point. Just take a moment to grasp the numbers. China has been Africa's largest trading partner for 16 consecutive years, with bilateral trade reaching an astounding $295 billion in 2024. This relationship has transformed the way goods, services, and capital flow across continents. It's no longer distant headlines or vague promises, but an active, vibrant network where China's influence is tangible in cities, ports, and infrastructure projects throughout Africa. Between January and March 2025, trade alone increased by over 2.7%, signaling that this momentum is far from slowing. What makes this partnership so significant is not just its size, but its depth. China's investments flow into critical sectors: energy, mining, transportation, agriculture, and technology, helping to build tangible assets that serve local economies and global supply chains. New initiatives have seen hundreds of billions of yuan in financial support and insurance, ensuring that projects won't just stall but thrive. This kind of dedication and scale is remarkable and captures attention even beyond economic circles. Reflect on the pace at which these developments are unfolding. Chinese policy aligns with a long-term vision, extending into 2029 and beyond. Designed to weave Africa more tightly into its global ambitions, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's recent visits across multiple African countries, including Chad and Namibia, illustrate how carefully planned and strategically nuanced this partnership has become. These visits don't just mark ceremony, but pave the way for real policy actions, infrastructure development, and diplomatic commitments. Meanwhile, U.S. leaders face a dilemma. Traditional engagements, often characterized by aid and cautious diplomacy, feel inadequate against this sweeping tide of investment and cooperation. The Chinese model, blending financial backing with technology transfer and infrastructure development, challenges the U.S. to rethink its strategy. It's not just about competing for influence, but understanding how to build partnerships on terms that respect African sovereignty and aspirations. There's a very human element to all of this as well. African leaders increasingly advocate for balanced trade, hoping to move beyond exporting raw materials toward developing industries that add value locally. This desire to build manufacturing capacity and economic self-sufficiency resonates deeply and is perfectly aligned with China's offer of extensive trade financing and market access. The mutual benefits sought in these partnerships reflect a growing maturity and sophistication. In Africa's global dealings, the contrast with U.S. trade policy also cannot be ignored. While China eliminates tariffs on goods from 53 African countries, supporting exports and offering financing, the U.S. at times has imposed tariff wars, creating tensions and limiting trade potential. Such disparities highlight why U.S. leaders are compelled to listen attentively now. Old approaches are less effective in this evolving landscape. The transformation goes beyond economics. It is geopolitical and strategic. Africa sits on vital mineral deposits critical to technology and clean energy. Sectors commodities central to the future of global power. China's focus on securing supply chains in these areas underscores its recognition of Africa's rising importance. For the U.S., this means the continent is not just a partner in development, but a key stage in a broader global contest for resources, influence, and strategic alliances. This growing Sino-African connection also brings opportunities for people-to-people ties, educational exchanges, and cultural cooperation. Deepening the relationship, China's plans to train thousands of African officers and law enforcement officials enhances security cooperation, a foundational pillar that builds trust and collaboration far beyond simple commerce. American policymakers must not only acknowledge this rise, but also understand that Africa's relationship with China is complex, multifaceted, and rooted in mutual goals. It's not merely a geopolitical rivalry. It's a story of two continents finding new ways to cooperate, build infrastructure, and lift millions out of poverty in ways uniquely. The professor's words act as a beacon in this arena, reminder that ignoring Africa's growing ties with China could mean overlooking the continent's most vital engine of progress. It's a wake-up call to move beyond old habits and embrace an engagement model that meets Africa's aspirations and recognizes its growing global stature. This pivot challenges U.S. leaders to move from reactive policies to proactive partnership building. It's about creating platforms where Africa's voice is amplified and where investment is sustainable and inclusive. It's about collaboration in technology, trade, security, and culture without dominance, but with mutual respect. The story unfolding between China and Africa compels a rethink of how the U.S. views its role on the continent. It's no longer about development on the margins, but about strategic engagement at the center of global affairs. Africa's rise through these partnerships signals a new chapter in America's. Choices now will define how it participates. This evolving and growing partnership is more than just numbers or diplomacy. It represents a future where Africa's potential is unleashed through strategic cooperation. It's a journey that's already rewriting global supply chains, economic flows, and political alliances. It's happening now, And the message to U.S. leaders is clear. Listen, adapt, and engage because the world, and especially Africa, is changing faster than ever. Ignoring Africa's remarkable rise is a risk that America simply cannot afford in today's fast-changing world. The continent's ascent is one of the defining stories of our time, and any attempt to overlook or underestimate it will have real consequences. Not just for Africa, but for global balance and influence. It's a call for America to rethink, re-engage, and build genuine partnerships grounded in respect, mutual benefit, and shared vision. Picture the world stage where power dynamics continually shift, new alliances are formed, old orders challenged, and influence is redefined. Africa is stepping out from the margins and into the spotlight, driven by its youthful population, emerging middle-class technological innovations, and expanding economies. This tells a profoundly hopeful story that challenges outdated narratives. Africa's growing voice and presence cannot be sidelined, reduced to mere background noise in global discussions. American leaders and policymakers have a vital decision to make. Either embrace this transformation with open arms or risk being left behind. Ignoring Africa's rise isn't just a missed opportunity for trade or diplomacy. It's a potential loss of strategic influence that will shape the decades to come. The professor's warning has an emotional weight because it speaks directly to this risk, a reality. Check that demands action. There is something deeply human about the urgency to recognize Africa as a partner rather than a problem to be solved. Too often, historical biases and misunderstandings have led to interactions colored by condescension or paternalism. But that attitude is increasingly untenable in the face of Africa's own assertion of its future. Across the continent, people want to be engaged with as equals, collaborators, and innovators. They seek relationships that honor their sovereignty, aspirations, and cultural richness. When America engages with Africa on this new footing, it taps into a vast reservoir of opportunity. Emerging tech hubs, renewable energy projects, health innovations, and creative industries blossom across African cities. This pulse of progress is powered by millions who are eager to learn, create, and build their communities. The American spirit of innovation and enterprise could find natural partners here if approached with respect and genuine interest. Additionally, global challenges such as climate change, pandemics, and security threats transcend borders. These are problems that demand international cooperation where Africa's role is essential. Ignoring Africa's voice in these matters is counterproductive. Genuine partnerships offer a pathway to address these shared challenges effectively. Leveraging Africa's unique resources and perspective alongside American expertise and investment, there's an emotional resonance. In this call for respect, it's about seeing Africa's immense achievements and infinite potential without the cloud of skepticism or doubt. It's about celebrating the entrepreneurial spirit of young Africans, the resilience of communities rebuilding after hardship, and the wisdom carried through generations. This recognition fuels hope and strengthens bonds beyond the tranthans. Strength, moreover. Africa's rise reshapes global economics, making the continent a crucial player in supply chains, digital innovation, and energy markets. Ignoring this reality closes doors to markets that will define future wealth and innovation. It reduces America's ability to project soft power and cultivate goodwill in a fast-evolving geopolitical landscape. For a country that prides itself on leadership, this would be a costly shortfall. The professor's message also highlights the urgency of timing. The changes underway in Africa and globally are not slow-moving currents, but rapid tides. Waiting too long to engage risks ceding ground irrevocably to other global players whose approaches may be less respectful or more self-serving. America's challenge is to act swiftly but thoughtfully, crafting partnerships that embody fairness and mutual growth. It's not mere competition. Building these partnerships is ultimately about trust. For years, many African nations have expressed frustration with external actors who promise development but fail to deliver or impose structures that benefit outsiders more than local people. Genuine partnerships require listening deeply, understanding African priorities, and walking alongside these nations in their journeys toward prosperity.